A Norseman stands before a merchant, his hand resting on a silver arm ring. The air is thick with the smell of wood smoke and salt, the sounds of a bustling market echoing from the fjord. This is not mere adornment, it is capital. He does not count coins, he weighs wealth. His next move will transform an object of beauty into a practical liquid medium of exchange. In the Viking Age, across vast trade networks stretching from North America to the Silk Road, a singular problem persisted: the absence of a universally accepted standardized coinage system. How could a merchant in Hedeby transact fairly with a trader from Baghdad when their respective economies operated on different principles of value? The solution was ingenious in its simplicity. The Norse developed a system where the intrinsic value of precious metals, primarily silver, became the bedrock of their economy. Unlike the Roman or Byzantine empires with their minted currencies, Viking societies relied on the physical metal itself. This meant that any item crafted from silver, regardless of its form, held the potential for exchange. The silver took many forms: elaborate neck rings, sturdy arm rings, delicate brooches, ingots, and even simple wire. These objects were not just personal adornments or symbols of status, they were portable wealth. A chieftain's gleaming torque was both a statement of power and a ready reserve of transactional capacity. The critical factor in this system was weight. To ensure fairness, transactions required precise measurement. Small, portable scales and sets of standardized weights were ubiquitous in Viking markets and longhouses. Every piece of silver, whether a finely crafted pendant or a crudely hammered lump, had its value determined by its mass. When a transaction demanded a specific value, the silver object was simply cut. This practice gave rise to hacksilver, fragments of jewelry, ingots or coins chopped into smaller pieces. A skilled trader could swiftly estimate and sever the exact amount needed, turning an ornate ring into precise, divisible currency. Hacksilver was the ultimate liquid asset. A single silver arm ring could be progressively reduced to pay for food, tools, or services, piece by piece. This practical approach transformed decorative items into highly flexible instruments of commerce, allowing for transactions of any scale without the need for fixed denominations. The efficacy of this system hinged on trust and a communal understanding of silver's purity. While not always perfectly uniform, Norse communities generally adhered to high standards. Often newly acquired silver from raids or trade would be melted down and reforged into ingots or recognizable jewelry forms, ensuring its quality and integration into the local economy. Crucially, the tools for this monetary system were simple and readily available. A strong, sharp chisel or an axe could sever a piece of an arm ring. A small portable balance, often collapsible for travel, accompanied every serious trader. These everyday implements empowered every Norseman to be his own banker, mint, and currency exchanger. This decentralized economic model fostered a robust, independent merchant class. Unlike contemporary feudal systems, where wealth often remained concentrated in the hands of kings or church, the Viking system allowed wealth to flow more freely, provided one possessed the silver and the means to verify it. The fluidity of hacksilver mirrored the mobility of the Norse themselves. Whether sailing across the North Sea or trekking through Eastern European forests, a Viking carried his wealth on his person, easily convertible and universally recognized in trade settlements that knew no single imperial coin. His jewelry was his bank. This practicality permeated every aspect of Norse life, from a farmer selling his harvest at the local thing assembly to a jarl outfitting a longship for an expedition. Silver in its various forms was the medium. It bought timber for shipbuilding, iron for tools, and provisions for long voyages, all measured by weight, not count. The social fabric was intertwined with this economic reality. A man's standing was often reflected in the silver he possessed, not just as display, but as potential. A magnificent neck ring was a symbol of prestige, yet its true power lay in its convertibility. It represented a store of liquid assets readily deployable for any necessity or ambition. The practicality extended to religious offerings and legal fines. A blood price for a killing, a fine for disrupting the peace, or a gift to the gods at a sacred grove could all be paid in silver by weight. This prevented disputes over currency conversion and ensured a common standard of reparation or devotion. This intrinsic valuation of silver meant that the origin of the metal was secondary to its purity and mass. Whether looted from an Anglo-Saxon monastery, traded for furs in Rus, or mined in Norway, Silver was silver. This universality simplified cross-cultural commerce to its most fundamental elements. The very act of hacksilvering a piece of jewelry was a public display of its true function. It stripped away the aesthetic and revealed the raw economic utility. A merchant or a warrior would not hesitate to deface a beautiful object if the transaction demanded it, underscoring the pragmatic nature of Norse finance. This system also minimized the risk of counterfeiting, a constant threat to minted currencies. While lead or copper might be disguised as silver, a simple test by weight, look, or even sound would reveal the deception. The tangible nature of the wealth made fraud difficult to perpetrate on a large scale. The longhouse itself served as a secure vault for this liquid wealth. Buried hoards of silver arm rings, ingots, and hacksilver are routinely uncovered by archaeologists, testament to a system where personal property was often synonymous with personal banking. The earth held their savings until needed. Contrast this with the coin-based economies of contemporary Europe. In the Carolingian Empire, a denier's value was tied to the king's authority and the integrity of his mint. A merchant crossing borders faced fluctuating exchange rates and the risk of debased coinage, often losing value with each transaction. The Frankish merchant had to navigate a labyrinth of regional coinages, each with varying metallic content and legal tender status. His Viking counterpart, however, carried a universal currency. Silver by weight transcended political boundaries and royal decrees, giving the Norse an undeniable advantage in international trade. While other societies grappled with currency debasement or the logistics of large-scale minting, the Norse system sidestepped these complexities. Their currency was self-regulating. Its value was inherent in the metal itself, not in the decree of a distant monarch. This made them economically resilient and highly adaptable. The fluidity of hacksilver gave Viking merchants and warriors a strategic edge. They could quickly acquire resources or pay tribute without the cumbersome process of converting foreign coinage. This practical advantage facilitated their expansive trade networks and military expeditions across diverse cultures. This method also fostered a distinct relationship between the individual and their wealth. Unlike a peasant whose coin's value was dictated from above, the Norseman directly controlled his economic fate. His ability to assess, weigh, and sever silver was a fundamental skill, as vital as wielding an axe or steering a longship. However, this flexible system, so perfectly suited for an era of raiding and long-distance trade, eventually began to shift. As Viking societies became more settled and their territories solidified, the need for a more standardized, centralized currency grew. The pragmatic approach faced new challenges. The advent of Christianization across Scandinavia brought with it new forms of administration and governance. Kings began to consolidate power, adopting continental European models, including the establishment of royal mints. These new institutions sought to control economic activity and centralize wealth. As urban centers grew and trade routes became more organized, the inefficiency of constantly weighing and cutting silver became apparent. Minted coins, with their fixed denominations and royal endorsement, offered a more convenient and scalable solution for increasingly complex economies. The gradual integration into wider European political and economic spheres meant that the intrinsic value system of hacksilver slowly gave way to the extrinsic, symbolic value of minted coinage. The age of liquid jewelry was drawing to a close, replaced by the burgeoning power of kings and their regulated economies. The very nature of wealth began to change. While silver remained precious, its form evolved from divisible jewelry to standardized coinage, stamped with the authority of emerging kingdoms. The rhythmic clang of the mint replaced the sharp strike of the chisel against an arm ring, signifying a new economic order. The shift was not instantaneous, but a slow, almost imperceptible transformation across centuries. Hoards from later periods often show a mix of hacksilver alongside newly minted coins, a testament to the coexistence of the old and new systems during this transitional phase. The familiar scales were still present, but their primary use was changing. As Viking homelands became established nations, their rulers sought to emulate the powerful Christian monarchies to the south. Centralized tax collection, standardized legal systems, and controlled currency became hallmarks of their rule, gradually rendering the spontaneous, decentralized hacksilver economy obsolete. The expansion of towns and the increasing complexity of urban life also demanded a more structured economic framework. Daily transactions in bustling markets benefited from the speed and convenience of pre-weighed, pre-valued coins, reducing the need for constant verification and cutting of silver. This transition marked the end of an era where personal jewelry literally embodied personal finance. The tangible, divisible nature of silver, once a beacon of economic freedom and adaptability for the Norse, slowly faded into memory, replaced by the abstract power of royal decree over a coin's face value. The pragmatic spirit that had driven the creation and use of liquid jewelry, however, endured. It was a reflection of the Norse approach to all challenges, to find the most direct, efficient, and reliable solution using the materials and knowledge at hand, without reliance on external authority or complex abstraction. The echo of the chisel on silver, a sound once synonymous with commerce and survival, slowly faded from the bustling markets. The scent of pine tar and salt spray, once mingling with the glint of hacksilver, remained, but the nature of transaction had fundamentally changed. The practical brilliance of an economy built on intrinsic value gave way to the new age of national currencies. Yet the legacy of this liquid currency endures in archaeological finds and historical accounts. It speaks to a people who bent the world to their will not through abstract finance, but through raw, tangible wealth. They found value in the metal itself, not just in the mark upon it, making them pioneers of a globalized, if chaotic, trade. So the next time you hold a piece of jewelry, consider its inherent worth beyond its design or sentiment. The Norse understood this deeply, using their adornments as both status and sustenance. What lessons can modern finance learn from a society that truly saw the value in a simple piece of silver, ready to be cut and exchanged at a moment's notice?